And joining us now for more on Singapore's election results is Eugene Tan Kheng Boon. He's a professor of law at Singapore Management University. Welcome to the broadcast. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure having.
The PAP has been Singapore's ruling party, as you know, since 1959. So what's the big surprise here with the election?
Susan, many expected the PAP to suffer further erosion of electoral support. And so the big swing was really unexpected. It wasn't expected by the ruling party, neither was it expected by the opposition parties, including the principal opposition party, the Workers' Party, and neither did citizens like me, voters, expect this sort of outcome.
I see. Was the timing right for them to call an election with the recent death of the beloved leader Lee Kuan Yew and also the 50-year anniversary? Did they strategically hold this at this time for that reason?
Yes, I think so. I don't think voters went to the elections, reflecting on Mr. Lee's passing or the Golden Jubilee celebrations. But I think those two events, which were momentous, by Singapore standards, the sort of reflection on 50 years of successful nation building, Mr. Lee's passing, evoked a very strong outpouring of emotions and brought home the message, particularly to young Singaporeans, about the very close ties between the PAP, and the different formative periods in Singapore history. So I think collectively, they put Singaporeans, into a frame of mind that, any other parties that want to seek power or want to gain seats, will have to measure up to the PAP standard. And I think one more thing, Susan, if you look at the background today, it's very hazy. These are forest fires from Indonesia. The pollution, air pollution is brought over here. And I think on the eve of the election, when we had this haze as well, it reminded Singaporeans of our inherent vulnerabilities. And I think, that made Singaporeans ponder about which party can secure, which party is strong in these sort of issues, that can ensure that Singapore will continue to thrive.
You mentioned the youth just a moment ago. How big of a part did they play in this election?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that question.
You mentioned the youth, Singapore's youth, the younger generation. How big of a part did they play?
Oh, I think it's certainly a big part, because we now have more voters who were born post-independence. And so this is a generation that pretty much benefited from the PAP rule, but at the same time, this is also a generation that is wary of one-party dominance. This is also a generation that is very receptive to opposition, to the idea that there should be a vibrant democracy, that there should be more checks and balances. But I think what made them hesitate, in voting for the opposition, really is that perhaps they didn't find the opposition really up to mark, and that given the regional security situation and the economic uncertainty, voters, including young voters, felt that it was better to go with a tried and tested party, the ruling party.
But didn't some of the opposition parties make significant gains, Eugene?
Not really. Across the board, all the opposition parties lost traction, and this included the Workers' Party, which made significant gains. But the key thing was, the Workers' Party retained, the 6 seats that they won in the last election. Although they did suffer about a 5% loss of electoral support. But I think there's still much in play, and I think Singaporeans will be watching how the ruling party rules, with this strong mandate. Will they continue, to be responsive to the people's concerns, and will they be able to continue to deliver the economic goods?
Well, Eugene Tan Kheng Boon, we really appreciate your time joining us live from Singapore.